Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So
Recording has started.
There we go. So if you're on the committee or in the community, please mute yourself when you're not speaking. And if you have a question, then please raise your hand and I will try to get to you as quickly as possible. Let's go to the agenda, please. So we'll do our welcome introductions. You all have seen this several times before. So let's start with introductions from the committee. And the first person I see is Dave Browning.
Yes, Dave Browning. My wife and I moved here in about '06, and both of us are pretty well involved in the community, so, and we like it here.
Thank you, Dave. Let me go to Liz Baldwin.
Liz Baldwin, nurse practitioner, been in District 4 for 27 years. I like it here, and I want to keep low density, dark skies dark, and trails accessible. That's why I'm on this wonderful committee.
Thank you, Liz. Bernice.
Hi, I'm Bernice Carver. I've lived out here 44 years. I'm retired from the county health department, retired health educator. I've been involved in the community and the state and national issues for a long, long time. I'm really concerned about keeping our communities in line with the community survey and all the things that Liz said too. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernice. John Ruggles.
Okay, John Ruggles here. I am still on the Planning and Zoning Commissions, serving District 2, and that's enough.
Thank you, sir. Monica.
Hi, I'm Monica. I've been out here for a long time and been on this committee before, so that's enough.
Thank you, Monica. Let me see. Who am I missing? Barbara. Evelyn.
That would be me. I am representing District 2, and that's it.
Thank you, Evelyn. And I'm Brian Bates. I've been a longtime resident as well and am co-chair along with Rob Wilson. I noticed that Ariana Contreras is with us. She works with Supervisor Vasquez. Would you like to share with us, Mrs. Contreras?
Yeah, hi everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. I'm Arena. I'm with Supervisor Geronimo Vasquez's office, District 2. Just giving you a little brief update. He is on his way, I believe, so he'll pop in when he's got a minute. But some of the things that we've been working on in the last, I don't know, man, it's been a while, it feels like. The board appointed the new senator for Legislative District 7, Senator Teresa Hatatali. So that's very exciting, kind of interesting to go through the process, and we wish her all the best since she was appointed on a Thursday and started on a Monday. So the other thing is our district has an intern for this semester, so we're excited to have some extra support and to be doing some other things. She's from NAU, so that's really exciting. We did meet with Catholic Charities earlier this week to kind of touch base and kind of learn more about their programming and any support that we can provide with the upcoming ARPA discussions with the community partnership piece. So that's something that Supervisor Vasquez is looking at and kind of seeing what needs to be prioritized. We did establish some money specifically for the mental health aspect on those fronts. So that's really exciting. Another exciting piece is the announcement for the museum flood area. They are going to be getting sirens, and that's been approved. It's now just in the moving parts process, and that's really exciting because that was a big concern that we were hearing during last season for monsoon, especially for folks without technology and for children that are playing within the area. So it's actually pretty exciting. And it'll coincide with the current emergency management system that people get through their phones and everything. So that's really nice. I did learn recently that Summit High School, right next to Mobile Haven, is partnering with the Flagstaff Family Food Center to provide food boxes every other week. So every first and second and fourth Friday, second and fourth Thursday of the month, they will be having food distribution boxes at the parking lot there from noon to 2. So if you know of anyone or need me to get some information, just please reach out. It'll be in the newsletter that's coming out next Wednesday. But just to keep that in mind, as folks are moving through some of the struggles with COVID going on, we are seeing our highest case numbers. And so we're just really encouraging people to stay vigilant. And if you need any resources or don't know where to get tests or need information, I have that. But it is also on the county website too. Yeah, and there is a press release that came out today. The jail has had their first outbreak of COVID since COVID started. So that's a little bit interesting right now. They have segregated those folks, and they have staff who are out with COVID right now. So it's a little disheartening, but at the same time, what they're trying to do to mitigate that is to only have very violent cases come within the jail right now. They're turning away everything else. So I'm sure there will be more updates on that, but just wanted you to hear it from us first in case you were like, wait, what? And so that's something that we're monitoring, and that the jail's really been good at communicating and just being transparent about that it happens, and that they're dealing with the space that they do have and the current population that they do have in the jail. So yeah, just things are kind of moving and jiving, and we are remote working, a lot of us at the county. So I appreciate all of you participating remotely so we can all stay safe. And if you have any questions or anything, please reach out and I can assist. So thank you.
Thank you, Arena. And let me apologize for mispronouncing your name. I do
Brian?
appreciate your being with us.
I see Supervisor Vasquez has joined us.
Oh,
Yes,
wonderful.
hi everyone. Sorry, running a little late. Being a father, had to take my daughter to the doctor. Everything came out well, but needed to take care of that and be sure. And so, I wanted to join tonight and just kind of remind everybody to be safe, take your precautions, and we're seeing that spike right now. And it like Karina said, it is a little disheartening. It is a little scary, in the sense that here we go again, 2 years in, and we're still not out of this storm. So, please take your precautions. We are dealing with high numbers, higher than we've dealt with before. And even though it sounds like the symptoms are milder, it's still impacting our community. I mean, this news with the jail, this outbreak, this is something we haven't had to this point. So that means, the numbers are higher than we probably would like, that we would like. And we just all need to look out for each other, not do it for ourselves, but do it for each other so we can keep each other safe. So, please be safe out there. If you haven't done so already, please get your vaccination or your booster. They've shown, the studies that have come out have shown that the vaccination and booster can be the difference between having some mild symptoms or possibly being hospitalized or even death. I've had distant relatives who we've lost through COVID just recently here locally. And, it's real and it's affecting the community. And so please be safe, take your precautions. I know they're not fun. I don't like them either. The idea of having to go back to all virtual and not interacting with people in person is something that I really dread. I did not enjoy that first year of COVID when we had to live like that. but it sounds like right now, to be safe, we have to head in that direction. So please be prudent, please be safe, and hopefully we'll weather this storm. And they say that the with Omicron, there's like a surge and a wave, and then it kind of dies off. So hopefully we'll have that same trajectory here in Coconino County. But like we had last week, we had like 2,000 cases. I remember in June having the conversation where we had 19 cases, and so, we just need to be vigilant and really keep with social distancing and masks, and we'll get through this. So, thank you for your participation, and keep plugging away. We're almost there, but we wouldn't be able to get through this without all your participation and all your input into this area plan. So thank you for all your efforts, because this is going to shape what the future out in your area looks like for the next 10 to 20 years. And so I appreciate all your hard work, and I hope that at the end of the day, the area plan that is presented to the board best reflects your community and best reflects the needs of your community when we finally approve it. So I'm looking forward to being at the light at the end of the tunnel. I know we're getting close, but there's still a little more work to be done. So, be patient with each other, be patient with yourselves, and we'll finish this thing up soon. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Supervisor Vasquez. I'd like to go to Jessica next. And Jessica, would you please share with us who our community members are with us this evening?
Yeah, thank you, Brian. I've just got Russell Weedman, Barbara Greenlease, and Doug Meyer.
3 veterans, by golly. Thank you all for being consistently in attendance and offering your perspectives. Do we have a representative from Supervisor Begay's office with us this evening?
I don't see anyone, Brian.
Okay, I didn't either. So let's move on to updates. Do we have any updates?
I do have an update.
Go ahead, please.
Does somebody else speak? Okay, and I wanted to show the next slide, and this is in regard to an annexation that is taking place with the city of Flagstaff, and you can see here where that blue arrow is pointing. And so the city-county boundary is right along here, the darker line, and this pink section, you may recall, is one of the rural activity centers, Rural Activity Center number 7. And let me go back to the other screen. So there's a piece that has been the initial approval by the city council, what took place last week. It's a 10-acre piece right here in this hatched area. It may be showing kind of lightly on your screen, but it is going to the final, they call it a read of an ordinance, February 1st. And at that point, then it will be approved for annexation into the city of Flagstaff. So that will change Rural Activity Center number 7. As you can see here, is commercial zoning right adjacent to the city of Flagstaff. We know that it's about 31 acres. And just to kind of talk about this a little bit more, most of these properties, according to the city annexation criteria, would be eligible, most likely be eligible for annexation into the city. So this is something that we have learned about. There's going to be another city council meeting, as I mentioned, on February 1st to review the final stages of this. So I wanted to go ahead.
Melissa, can you share with us if there's plans for any development? I have heard of some, but I want to, that's, third voice.
There are plans, and the link I have here is directly to the staff report on the city website. So my understanding, I believe it's 174 bed rehabilitation facility, and it will be in combination with some equine therapy. So I haven't seen the actual development plans or the architectural drawings, but that is all on the city website. And so part of the reason why they requested annexation was to connect to city water and sewer services.
Can you share what type of rehabilitation we're speaking of? Are we talking about young individuals? Are we talking about elders?
I believe it is a mental health facility.
Mental health facility. So would this be like a large dormitory type of building? Would it be, do you have any idea what the structures are that are proposed?
Well, again, I haven't seen the architectural drawings. My brief conversation that I had with the city is that they are well designed. They, maybe they even looked at the Donny Park design overlay. I'm not sure, but my understanding is that they were well designed. They are also part of the request is to take a portion of the back of the property. I don't know how many acres. It's about a 10.5 acre site. They're taking part of it and rezoning it to residential. So they're downzoning it from commercial to residential in order to operate the equine therapy portion of the facility, because right now city commercial zoning does not allow any type of animal keeping. So that's an interesting addition to the proposal.
Another question is the residential area, would that is that going to be how do I say this, written such that it cannot be sold as individual homes, or could that be sold as homes in the future?
I don't know the answer to that, Brian.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to provide good information. And does this need to be approved by the County Board of Supervisors?
No, it's simply going to be a city of Flagstaff agenda item. I mean, it has been an agenda item with the city of Flagstaff. And if they approve it, then they will, the annexation would be in effect, I believe, February 1st. So for final adoption. And that would obviously change both the city-county boundary and then the area plan boundary, and then the mix of commercial uses within the area plan.
Is any of the remaining land within the rural use area, is any of that also subject to being annexed by the city?
Well, so it's all annexation is dependent on a request from a property owner. And so I don't know, we have not been informed of any other property owners looking at requesting annexation into the city, but we do know that based on the criteria that the city has for annexation, that this entire section here in pink, all of this rural activity center number 7 would likely be eligible. Again, just an initial first brush over it would be that it would likely be eligible to be annexed into the city.
Thank you.
But we don't have any, there's no information about any other businesses or property owners requesting that at this time.
Okay. I'd like to go to the committee and ask if any committee members have questions.
I have a question. This is Bernice. Does the city compensate the county in any way for the loss of the tax revenues from these properties?
Bernice, I believe the answer to that is no.
Wow. Okay.
But, the city will be having additional expenses by extending their water line and their sewer line out to this. So that's that's the main, as I understand it, the main reason for this request. This has been, I'll just go to the next slide. So you can see a little bit more. This property it was an old, I believe, trailer sales business.
That's accurate.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's been underutilized in that respect.
Mm-hmm. Plus, they'll qualify for city police services, so that might be helpful to them.
Correct. Yep.
That would then include, what do I say, Mary's Cafe and the gas station that's out there.
No, it's just this one parcel, Brian, this odd
So it's-
shaped parcel. So it's not this entire east side of 89. It's just where you can kind of see the cursor.
Yeah.
It's this hatched area. That's the
So-
parcel. Yeah.
I'm assuming that up to the northeast then is where Mary's Cafe and whatever the gas station is there.
Right. Those are not included in the annexation.
Okay. Any other committee member with questions?
I had a question, Melissa. This is Jeronimo Vasquez.
Yes.
My question was, what's the community response been to this this proposed endeavor? Like, what kind of response has the community had to the plan of having a this rehabilitation center in this location?
The information that I got from talking to the city planner, and I didn't read all of their public comments. So this is just, talking to the city planners, is that they've had support from the community. I don't have all of those details. I'm happy to share the link in the chat to the city's website right here. Let me just copy this, see if I can copy this, because this is where all the details are located. And I don't know what this is going to, okay, it's taking me to their website. Hang on one second. So I do believe, though, it's had a positive response from the people that have been noticed in the annexation. But again, this is something that we have been informed of in a formal way, but we have not been at community development involved in the meetings.
And I'm assuming, I want to make this very clear. I'm assuming that we as the committee, planning committee, do not have any influence over this process other than to write city council.
Right. Anyone has the ability to, give their comments at the public meetings.
Right. But as a committee, it's, we are not, how shall I say, we don't have any standing with the council because we're an advisory committee to the county.
Well, I'm sure that, if this committee had comments, then the city council will take those into consideration, just like the county would for any public hearing project. So yeah, that's certainly, just like in any public matter, they'll take a look at the comments for consideration. They have moved fairly, far along in the process. So I did put the link to their agenda in the chat if anyone wants to pursue that further.
Oh, thank you.
Make sure,
So I'd
does
like-
everybody see that?
Yes, I see it.
Okay.
So I don't want to go down a rabbit hole on this, but if any committee member or community member has any concerns or wants to express their perspective, please follow the link that Melissa put into the chat.
And Melissa, this is Liz. And in the chat, it also says when's the next meeting if we wanted to attend and learn more after we watch the,
I believe it's scheduled for February 1st.
okay.
It's what they call the second read of the ordinance. So it's had an initial approval. And then I believe, I'm not 100% familiar with the city annexation process and schedule.
Okay.
So, but it's had an initial approval by the city council. And then they have a time frame where they wait between reads, as they call it, and then they'll read the ordinance again. And I
Okay.
believe that's scheduled for February 1st. So
Okay. And probably those dates would be in in the chat.
yes,
wouldn't
it should be. And then the contact for the city planner is on that link as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Our next is public comment. Do we have any other thing? Anything else?
No, that's all I
Okay.
had for an update.
Let's go to public comment. If you're a community member and you wish to speak, if you would unmute yourself. And I see Doug Meyer has his hand up. Go ahead, Doug.
Hi, thanks. I'll try to make this within 3 minutes. I think I can do it. I just discovered a couple things this week that I believe will be of great interest to this committee, although I may be the last person to have discovered that the Turkey Hills State Trust square mile section, which is often referred to as Section 2, it's located south of Townsend Winona Road, and it is east of the southern extension of Coachfield Road, and it's west of Foster Road. That square mile section apparently carries AR5 residential zoning, even though there's no parcels there. It's all just an undeveloped section. It's the only state trust section in the entire Flagstaff regional plan area, I believe, that has any residential or commercial pre-zoning. So I thought that was quite notable. And when I discovered that, I decided to go and look at the maps and presentations that this committee was shown 2 years ago when this whole process started. And I didn't find anything. I'm bottom line, I don't think that this committee, even though I'm sure there are some individuals who are aware, I don't think this committee has discussed this. And if that's the case, I think this is a real omission in the committee's agenda, because there's a discrepancy between this residential zoning on a state trust land section and the very strong inference that you can make from survey question number 20, which was conducted in the fall of 2019. Question 20 said, would you be in favor of adjacent Forest Service land being exchanged and made available for residential development? And the answer was 94% no. This square mile state trust section is undeveloped. It's bordered by Forest Service land on all 4 sides. It has slopes visible from much of Donny Park, and it happens to be the home of the Turkey Hills elk herd that we all know about. That's where they live, along with so much other wildlife. The goal in the Donny Park area plan that you've already written, that's associated with land use policy number 5, is no doubt derived directly from survey question 20. And that goal says, undeveloped Forest Service land in and adjacent to the planning area is preserved. Now, I'm aware of what this committee was told from day one. This plan does not change or reduce existing entitlements. I know we can't change the zoning. Apparently, it's been there since 1981 or even earlier. But we can put words in the plan that provide guidance to the supervisors as to what the community wants, even if what the community wants is in direct opposition to existing entitlements. And how can that be? It's because the subdivision ordinance does give the county supervisors basically a political calculation to make in these cases. Section 1.2 of the subdivision ordinance says the Board of Supervisors may disapprove any subdivision if it is not consistent with the guiding principles of the comprehensive plan or specific area plan. So this could be as simple as adding 3 words to that goal I already read to you. I don't know, I would certainly defer to Melissa and the committee as to their specific ideas on how to do it. But as a result of this, I basically have 2 requests. One, for Melissa Shaw to state for the record what her understanding of the history of this AR5 designation is on this section. And number 2, I'd like to ask this committee to discuss and implement the will of the community in the Donny Park area plan with regard to this particular section of state trust land. And I would like to just finish by saying this committee cannot be held liable for expressing the will of the community to the supervisors. That's exactly what this committee is supposed to do. And this would be the supervisor's decision to make, not the committee's. And that's it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Melissa, let me go to you. Do you have any comment or additional information you might share with us?
Sure, and thanks to Doug for bringing this up. He did email earlier this week about this. And so we did research and went back to 1981 when the current county zoning classifications were adopted countywide. And at that time, the AR5 zoning was applied to this parcel, which by the way, we have looked at this map early on. This parcel, as far as we knew, there was that section of state trust land that had residential zoning on it. So the committee has looked at this. And then, but prior to 1981, I am not sure, when the AR5 or the equivalent AR5 zoning was applied to that parcel. That's probably a question for the state land department. It's not in our records. In 1981, the county simply took the new zoning classifications and applied them to the existing zoning. So nothing was really changed except for that. So it appears that it was in place even before 1981. So that's something that, again, I think the state land department may have more information on than the county at this point.
Is there anything actionable? We are going to be reviewing the remainder of our comments on land use. Is there anything else that would be of interest to the community concerning this parcel that we might want to look at in terms of how we would write things within the land use?
I think
policy?
one other thing that Doug had brought up in his email was that apparently that section was part of a state bond issue that did not pass a number of years ago, where it was proposed to be designated as open space. So that might be something, a recommendation to consider if this isn't important. And I know that that's an area important for archaeological, cultural, as well as natural environment resource preservation. But, that might be something to think about specifically. Because it has been in the calculations all along as, part of your undeveloped residential zoning numbers.
Thank you, Melissa. John?
I'd like to add something here. I'd like to have Doug state the wording he would like to see, because I think he raises a very good point here.
I agree.
The other thing about it is that given the fact that it is already zoned AR, the first step in any procedure in terms of rezoning for anyone would be to come to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I'm one of them, would have to make a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. And I would like to state that I think the Board of Supervisors has done rather well recently in making decisions about development on properties like this, and have been very much working in the best interests of the community as a whole.
Thank you, John. Any other comments from the committee? Hearing none. Go ahead.
Okay.
Well,
I
oh,
am
sorry.
so grateful for Doug for bringing this up. I think all of us are very concerned about it. I think it's really important that we pursue this, and I too would like to hear Doug's suggestions of what we should put into the area plan to protect this area and its proximity to Walnut Canyon also. Thank you.
Yes, this is Liz, and I agree with Bernice. This is Liz. Thank you so much, Doug. My jaw dropped. I'm just like, I had no clue. And I'm just like, that is a great area over there. I ride my bike over there. And so thank you for sharing it. And I think we should not just ask Doug for a suggestion, but we as a group just have to work on this. So we put it in too with his help, but not just dump it all on him. So thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Liz. Somehow I just knocked myself out of the I can't see anybody. So,
We can see you.
well,
Um,
okay.
You
Um,
may need to maximize your view screen there, Brian.
Wait a minute, maybe that's it. At any rate, thank you, Doug. I was not aware of what you were speaking of. And I think it is an important issue that we need to look at. Let's move on. with-
One more question for Doug. How did you find out about this, Doug? Did you just do investigation or did you hear scuttlebutt? Were you riding or walking, hiking and you?
I basically discovered it by looking at the story map that goes along with this plan. If you, the link, there's a story map, and it does say AR5 there on that section. And so I said, wow. And I went in, and finally I emailed Melissa first. And between the time I had talked to her and she emailed back, I went into the actual Coconino County parcel viewer, and you have to click a checkbox for the zoning. If you don't check that box, you don't see zoning. But if you do, and that's part of the why nobody knows about it, because nobody normally checks the box. But if you do check the box, you get the zoning, and sure enough, it's AR5, and it was just a jaw dropper, because like I said, if you look around the other state trust sections around Flagstaff, none of them are residential or commercial zone. None of them. This is the only one. And so it's very concerning. As to what I would suggest, I thought maybe, probably the more general way for me to suggest it is that whatever words that need to be put in there to trigger in the supervisor's mind that they should be using section 1.2 of the subdivision ordinance, if it ever comes to it, where they have to look at the Donny Park area plan on one hand, and they have to look at a subdivision proposal on the other hand. And the subdivision ordinance clearly says the Board of Supervisors may disapprove any subdivision if it is not consistent with the guiding principles of the comprehensive plan or the specific area plan. So, it could be as simple as just putting "and state trust" right after Forest Service in that goal you already have for a land use policy number 5. That policy right now, what it would say is undeveloped Forest Service and state trust land in and adjacent to the planning area is preserved. It's one sentence. You could easily add the 3 words "and state trust." It seems like that would do it to me, but maybe Melissa would know better about specifically how you would tell we're trying to tell the supervisors that we don't want that state trust land developed, even though it is zoned at AR5. And, that's their decision to make. It's a tough call, but we need to say so. We need to say so in the plan. And so you got to say so in whatever way you can best say it.
That's a good idea.
Good
And
job.
I'd like to, let's move to John Ruggles, but
Yeah.
I appreciate your bringing this up, Doug.
Very quickly, we have dealt with this in another place in the plan by simply referring to it as public lands. That covers everything. That'll cover state, BLM, Forest Service, everything that is not privately owned. So we have done that elsewhere for exactly this reason, because we had a lot of discussion about, well, do we list all of the various entities that are public land, or do we lump them all into one and just say public lands?
I appreciate that. I would only caution that technically this is definitely publicly owned land. The state of Arizona owns it. The state trust actually has they have some actual permit required to enter. So there's signs on the actual borders of this section that says you technically need a permit to enter. And so it's technically not free to open anybody who wants to enter at any time. It's definitely publicly owned land, but the state trust makes it a little bit different for the reason that it's owned by the state trust. But, you know, so I don't know. I have no idea what the wording should be. But-
I think that in a case like this, you raise a good point, because the state trust land is a little bit different and it's administered considerably differently. So public lands, including state trust land, would probably be the best way to do it. You've got a very good suggestion. So,
Yeah.
and we get to deal with this. I will probably get to deal with this, the Planning and Zoning Commission level. So good to have it in there.
Brian, could I clarify something?
Sure.
Yeah, just so the committee knows, Doug is referring to one of the goals in land use. So
Land use number 5.
it's not a policy, it's the goal. That is a policy, so it's the goal right above that policy. Okay,
Okay.
so when we switch screens, we can look at that.
Okay. Thank you, Doug. Let's move on with public comment. Do any other community members have a comment?
Yeah,
Hearing
Brian,
none? Yes, sir.
this is Russell Weedman.
Hello, Russell. Let me
Yeah.
share with you that we are going to get to your comments shortly, the ones that you sent to Melissa 2 months ago. So those will be covered tonight.
Is that including the comment on LU6?
Yes, I
Okay.
believe that is correct.
Yeah, it is, because I looked at the, his
Yeah,
comment.
I was curious because, 2 meetings ago, you had actually taken a vote on the wording. And that was pretty chaotic at the time. And so I'm glad to hear that you're going to go over that again. That vote is not holding true at this point. Is that right? The vote you did?
I am not going to make a commit. I'm not going to make a statement there, Doug, because I don't know.
Yeah, Russell. But,
Excuse me. I know. Never mind.
Yeah, yeah, don't worry about it. I'm just curious. I think the wording is very important, just like what you talked about in LU5 and what Doug had mentioned. A few words here and there make a big difference and can send a message to planning and zoning and supervisors for a later decision that they have to make.
Right.
And I'm still concerned about that wording in LU6 because to me, it appears to crack the door open a little wider for the possibility of higher density housing being built in a rural activity center. Just one step in a direction that this community does not want to go. By the answers to the survey questions, and it was 87% that did not want that higher density housing. So I think everything has to be done to represent what the community wants. I'm kind of curious too, just sometimes I don't feel like in the meetings, I don't feel like the committee members are necessarily representing the community. They're kind of representing more their feelings about something. Is it, do they kind of feel like they should be representing the community or,
I'll chime in here, Russell. My experience with this committee is that folks are working diligently to represent the community. Now, we do have different perceptions, and that's why there's a diverse, we have the diversity that we do on the committee. And I honestly believe that the committee members are trying to represent what it is the community wants. Now, I agree with you that the wording is very significant. And we are going to get to your comments on LU5 and LU6 here shortly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much for everything and all the work that everybody is doing on this area plan. And I truly hope that what the community wants is reflected in the policy, not just in the vision statement, which it appears to be. So anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Russell. Any other comments from the community? Let's move on. You all have had the opportunity to review the meeting notes from December 9 and December 16. Do we have any comments? Any edits to those meeting notes? Hearing none, I accept the meeting notes for December 9th and December 16th. Okay, let's move on to the September open house and public comments. And Melissa, I believe this is where we go to comments. Russell's were submitted after we had already begun a different process. I forget the exact nature, but we will get to those. Do we have other public comments that we're also looking at this evening?
Brian, it was primarily the comments from Russell, which had been not included in the major the table that you've been reviewing, but they were sent in later. So that's, I can pull those up. I'll need to stop sharing screen.
And
Yeah,
so
if you'll pull
this is,
his comments up, please.
Yeah.
Melissa, are we going over my comments that I submitted
Yes, we
in
will,
August?
Bernice.
Great, thanks.
and I think this is Liz. I think we also have some from Harriet, or are you just sharing that with us, Melissa? Harriet and Evelyn, because Evelyn had a beautiful idea. She's not here yet, about letting the community know how we support them when we make a big decision. We support this. We put the survey comments next to our decision when we're going over these comments. Another area of plan had done that, and I think she's going to mention that. But we have comments that we have to go over from Evelyn too, right? And Harriet? Or is that just for our
is
knowledge?
correct.
They're all
Liz?
online for
Okay, good.
tonight. Yep.
All right, beautiful. Thank you.
So we got comments from the community, and we have comments from 3 or 4 of us who are on the committee.
Right.
Okay. So
Did that
this-
display?
Yes, it does. So Russell's comment is the development of new multiple family.
Brian, if I could just interject here, he did have comments related to several sections. So,
Yeah, I see that.
yeah, so those have, none of these have been reviewed by the committee in this forum. So we would need to look at all these.
And we've already, okay, so let's begin at the top and just go through them.
Can I say something real quick, Brian? We did, and I have a note on it. John Ruggles on 12/9 did address his LU13. He did explain what happened there. And I remember Monica kind of chimed in. So
Yes.
LU13, I believe we've already answered Russell's question to that.
Yes, I agree with you. Thank you, Evelyn. And essentially, we have no control over it. That was a decision made some time ago for the development of, golly, Hutchison Acres, I believe it is. Okay, let's go ahead with CC number 6.
Right, and that was in your community character chapter.
So encourage the Department of Transportation to install signage to prohibit truck engine braking along Highway 89 within the planning area. For the community, will you take us back to?
Yes, hang on a
community
second.
character?
Did it change to the other document?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to scroll up to, I'm in the public house document. So community character, culture, and history, number 6.
Yes.
And so that, can you read that? Is it large enough?
So I will read it out loud. Encourage the Arizona Department of Transportation to consider installing signage to limit or prohibit truck engine braking along Highway 89 within the planning area.
So I'm not 100% sure what the change would be based on that comment from Russell. It's the same language.
He
Is he
says
just reiterating that it's important?
it could be, but what he's saying is simply to prohibit as opposed to limit.
Mm-hmm.
So what does it say to?
The draft says prohibit truck engine braking along Highway 89 within the planning area.
So it says, it is just above it. Encourage the Arizona Department of Transportation to consider installing signage to limit or prohibit. And I think Russell is saying delete to limit.
He's saying to delete to consider, and I believe to say encourage the Department of Transportation to install signage to prohibit truck engine braking. So it would be taking out to consider and to limit.
And that truck engine braking, I'm assuming, is most often coming down from the pass, coming into Donny Park. Is that where most of the truck engine braking is?
Yes, I've heard it myself. In the middle of the night or early mornings, you can hear those brakes going on. And
But isn't that
Okay.
a safety issue though? That if they're coming down the pass, I mean, I know we don't like it, but don't they have to do their brakes?
Not on that pass. If they
Huh.
just drove better, if they paid attention to the speed limit as it drops, they'd be fine. They don't need to
Huh.
brake.
Yeah, Monica's right on.
And the other
Okay.
thing, one other thing, it's not just that area in particular. The number of times I've noted truckers coming up to the traffic light at Silver Saddle using their Jake brake.
Yeah,
Quite a number of times.
well, that's true.
So
I agree
it's
with
all along
John.
the highway.
Yeah, I agree with John. We can hear them, miles in from Highway 89 because this noise ricochets off Mount
Hmm.
Ellen and
Yeah.
comes east. And we also are getting more truck traffic on Townsend Winona Road that slowing down.
I
So
think
what I-
Russell's suggestion, is a good one here.
I agree.
Yeah, so what we're talking about is to delete, consider, and delete to limit. And so it would read, encourage the Department of Transportation to install signage that prohibits truck engine braking along Highway 89.
Thanks, Brian. And I just made a note to use Russell's edits for this policy.
Yeah.
Okay, but did I accurately capture what he said?
Right there. I believe you did. Encourage the Arizona Department of Transportation to install signage to prohibit truck engine braking along Highway 89 within that would be planning area.
Yeah. I'm good with that. Particularly if it helps people sleep at night, because folks waking up in the middle of the night is not good. Comments from other committee members?
Like it.
Okay, Bernice is in favor of it.
Evelyn's in favor.
Liz is, I didn't know, I don't even know what the sound sounds like. I live so far away from it. Brian, you don't hear it, do you?
No, I don't hear it, but I.
Yeah,
use
I don't even know.
trucks.
Yeah, I thought it was a safety issue, so now I'm informed. They can just drive better. They don't need it.
So basically, we're saying that we want signage that says use of truck engine braking is prohibited. That's the intent of the policy there. Anybody not
Liz?
agree with it? Any committee member not agree?
Yeah, I have a comment.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether it's a safety feature or not, but when you downshift to reduce your speed as you're coming up on something, that's what makes the noise. And, unless they have unless a Jake brake is a specific other thing that they'd have to do separately. But if it's only just downshifting, that's important.
I've got to add to that, Dave, and clarify something for you. It is a compression release. It uses engine compression. And with a diesel engine, that is very effective at slowing the vehicle. And it goes back to the back years and years as a method of saving the brakes.
Yeah. Okay. I got it.
Okay.
So essentially, we're asking for signage that tells the truck drivers that they cannot use their engine brakes, so they need to follow the speed limit. That's what I'm hearing.
I don't know enough about this. Like I said,
Brian, do you all want to adopt this language then? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. Do we?
Okay.
Do we want to adopt what Russell has said?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. That would be,
I agree.
I've got that noted. Are you ready to move on to his LU6 comment?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like me to read it?
Yes, please.
Okay, so Russell's comment on LU policy number 6, the development of new multiple family parentheses condominiums, duplexes, apartments, townhouses, or mobile home parks, close parentheses, projects should not be permitted in the planning area unless already zoned for multiple family developments. No zoning changes to permit multiple family developments. And the policy reads, hang on while I go down to that. Okay, so the policy reads, and I will just read out the development of new multiple family condominiums, duplexes, apartments, townhouses, or mobile home parks. Projects should not be approved outside of rural activity centers. So that's how the policy currently reads. And the suggestion is this.
Melissa, can you, since we're on it, read my suggestions? There were 2 of them. One is
Yes,
pretty strong and the other was trying to be nice.
right there. Did that appear?
Yes.
yes, it did good.
Okay. So you've got 2 suggestions
Right.
here for this.
One is kind of pretty much what everybody wants. And the other one is kind of
More
trying to be
specific.
nice.
Would you
Yeah.
like me to read both of them?
Bernice,
please.
excuse me, Evelyn, which one do you prefer?
You know,
Okay.
the
Disregard-
reason I did the second one is because of the need for affordable housing, I guess you might say. But we'll just read both of them.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Go
the
ahead.
The first suggestion from Evelyn for LU6, the October 2020 area plan survey and comments from the September 2021 area plan open house upholds the desire of the area plan residents that the development of new multiple family condominiums, duplexes, apartments, townhomes, or mobile home parks projects should not be approved in the planning area for multiple family development. No zoning changes should be permitted for multiple family development. That's the first iteration. And then the second one, I'm sorry, something is going on. There we go. The second one reads, the development of new large multiple family projects such as condominiums, apartments, townhouses, or mobile home parks should not be approved in the planning area for multiple family development. No zoning changes should be permitted for such multiple family development. Single-story duplex should not be approved outside of rural activity centers.
Melissa, are single-story duplexes currently permitted within rural activity centers?
Yes.
Currently,
Actually, no, they would only be approved in relation to a mixed use development that is mixed use with commercial. So remember, the height limit is determined by the zone.
Right.
in the 2001 area plan, I believe that duplexes are not allowed or multiplexes.
According to, well, it depends on the zoning, whether or not they're allowed, but in commercial zones, remember, mixed use development can occur. So that means commercial in association with some residential, but there has to be that nexus between the commercial and residential, which is called mixed use.
Okay, I'm looking at page 44 of the 2001 area plan. It's on number 5 under development concept. Actually, that's not it. It's under C. And then, well, on number 5, it says the development of new multiple family, in parentheses, condominiums, duplexes, apartments, townhouses, or mobile home parks projects shall not be approved.
Right, that's the original, the current wording.
Yeah, that's the wording we have in our current area plan.
Right.
And that's what is preferred by the area residents in the surveys.
And let me just go back to the proposed update to that. And then the proposed update would be to add outside of rural activity centers to the end of that sentence.
But that's
So
not
that
really
would
what
be
people
multi-unit
want.
housing.
But see, Evelyn, could you explain, Evelyn, please, why? Because I understand, because we talked about it today, but you explained to the group, why did you put this other one underneath here specifically about duplexes?
Because I had a dream, and I guess I just, there was just a feeling that
There's a misunderstanding.
affordable housing, but if it's not what the people really want, then number one is what it should be.
Right.
That supports what the people want. It supports a survey. It supports what everybody is saying. And I pretty much figured that number one, the first one was the one that everybody would really go for. And if single story duplexes aren't even something you could do in an area plan, activity center, I mean, then it's an out. Just use number one, the first one, and that's really what the people want.
Right. Because what you said this afternoon was beautiful, because you said it was to clarify that duplexes would only be in the rural activity center and not in residentials if they were going to be there. And then I said, oh, now I get it. So thank you.
But if
I've
it's
got
something
a-
that isn't
But it's not-
allowed, then
Right.
Liz,
let it be.
hold on a minute.
Yeah.
Hold
I'd
on a
like to-
minute. So,
I'd like to add a
John,
suggestion.
John, let me come to you in just a minute.
Okay,
Thank you, John. So what I'm hearing here is that my question is, was the aspect of rural activity centers included in the question on the survey? In other words, were the community members saying that they didn't want them in the community at all, including rural activity centers.
Brian, I don't believe the question was worded that way. There were separate questions. There was a
Right.
question about multiple family and whether or not that was of interest to the community. And then there was another question about expanding rural activity centers. I don't believe it was phrased the way you just described it.
I like
Right.
Russell's compromise where it says if it's already zoned for multiple family housing, like mobile home parks, that we leave the zoning, make sure it would be grandfathered in anyway.
Yes, that's correct.
But I like that. I think Russell's statement is diplomatic, and I do like Evelyn's first one also.
Okay,
Well,
let me go to John,
yeah, I
please.
tell you, what, I think we could simplify this greatly by just leaving out outside of rural activity centers. And the reason that I say that is the fact that the rural activity centers are not specifically defined well enough. And by leaving that out and saying should not be approved in the planning area, then you take care of that problem. And since this is an advisory document, something like that comes to the Planning and Zoning Commission first for a recommendation to the board. There you go. Whether it's in the activity center, which is very, very amorphously defined anywhere, and you look at it and you say, well, the survey showed that people don't want to see this, and probably regardless of where such a development would occur, just leave out the reference to the activity center. And then I believe Russell had a very good addition to this that could be incorporated, referring to the existing zoning. Because that's going to be grandfathered in, and we're stuck with it. Proposition 207 really makes us stuck with it.
Yeah,
John, let me just clarify. Are you then suggesting going back to the current wording, the
Yes.
2001 plan wording with the addition of the unless already zoned for multiple family developments phrase?
And you leave out the wording referring to activity centers.
Right, using the language in the 2001 plan.
Yeah, it should not be approved, period.
okay. John, you
Okay.
hit the reason for my question about rural activity centers very well.
Yeah, this has been an issue. It was back when the comprehensive plan was revised and updated in 2014. I heard
Okay.
about some of the Board of Supervisors comments on that.
Okay, I'm not sure we need to review that history. do
No,
I?
we don't.
Okay, so Melissa, could you please read how you understand the statement would be edited?
Sorry, I was muted. The development of new multiple family condominiums, duplexes, apartments, townhouses, or mobile home parks projects should not be approved. Period. No, it should not be approved unless already zoned for multiple family developments, period.
Does it include
works.
no zoning changes to permit? No zoning changes should be granted to permit multiple family dwellings.
Well, should not be approved covers that, I think.
I think it does too, but I want to ask the question.
Brian, are you asking me or are you asking the committee?
I'm asking the committee.
Okay.
Thanks for the clarification.
I think it would be too wordy. I think it was already summed up before that. We don't have to have that extra sentence. This is Liz.
Yeah, okay. Any other committee member comment?
I think that sounds good.
Okay, so we're going to essentially drop the outside of a rural activity center and add unless already zoned for multiple family development.
Question, are there areas that are already planned for multi-development?
That's an
I
excellent
believe the
question.
answer is no, Evelyn. There, you
That's
don't
okay,
have any
that's-
existing zoning for multiple family
That's
development.
that's kind of what I thought. So that kind of makes it so that it just isn't possible, because then we're requesting no zoning change to permit for that. So it's kind of saying it's not gonna, we're suggesting don't let it happen.
Correct.
Okay, so the reason because I kind of said the same thing in the first one. The reason that I added the first sentence was to let people know that we're listening to them, that, okay, we saw it in that survey, we saw it in the open house, let's do this. That's the only reason I added that first sentence to the paragraph.
So you're acknowledging that we are following the will as revealed by the survey.
Right, and that's another thing that I kind of talked about earlier a while back, was I have seen in other places, in other plans, that they support, I think it was the parks very first one, they will put a goal or policy or whatever, and then they support it with what the survey said, what the percentage was. And I think that really shows that the committee was taking what the people wanted seriously. And I think it would be great for real controversial things like this to support
Yep.
the statement with what the survey says.
Excellent idea.
I think so too. I think that's wonderful. Just put the survey result up there.
So let me go to other committee members. Your comments, your perceptions.
Yeah, I'll give you one. I can go along with that because this is such a controversial issue and is very important to us here in Donny Park.
Okay, thank you, John.
I see Dave Browning had his hand up, Brian.
Dave?
Yes.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Dave, didn't see it.
Yeah, I have one minor tweak. I think that where the parentheses starts, you should throw in an E.G. to make sure that you're not specifying these specific ones.
That's a good comment. I agree with you.
Other than that, I like what's there.
Okay, Monica?
Yeah, I'm good with all of this.
Okay,
I think it's a lot. It's to the point that we had been wanting to get to. We just couldn't get to it because we kept tripping over everything else. It's exactly where I figured we were going to land.
so what I'm hearing now is that we're going to follow Russell's edit, and I hope you have that typed out somewhere, Melissa. Are we adding as a preface to LU6, the first sentence, the October 2020 area plan survey, and I would suggest, and public comments uphold the desire of the area plan residents that, then you state the policy.
So Brian, you're using Evelyn's sentence here.
I'm using her sentence to see if do we want to incorporate that into the policy statement. Comments from the committee.
Dave
please.
has his hand up.
Dave?
Yeah, is it the 2020, don't we have, well, never mind, we're fine. never mind.
It was 2021.
Yeah,
No, the survey was in
the survey was in 2020, yes.
Correct.
20.
Those
Yes.
dates are correct.
Yeah. But I think if we say the 2020 area plan survey and public comments will cover the rest of it. I don't think we need to have the September, et cetera, in there.
Okay, this is Liz, and I thought we were saying, Evelyn, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought you were telling me this afternoon that, do you want to keep that sentence in, or did you want to just, every time there's a controversial, which they seem like a lot of them are controversial, we put the exact survey result there? Is that what you were trying to say? Or do you say you want to just put a sentence that refers back to the survey?
I would,
Evelyn?
in this case, I would like the area residents and the planning and zoning, if they have to look at this, to know what our surveys, what our residents want. And then in other ones, like the parks area plan, they refer to their survey and percentages.
Right, so show the exact survey result. Okay. That's what I thought you said, instead of just a sentence, a general sentence.
Well, in this case, a sentence and maybe even the 87% or something. But in some cases, I think it should be what the survey, what the people said, just to refer back to it. And so that the zoning, when they're looking at it, the planning and zoning, they can see, oh, well, here's backing up. The survey said this is what the residents want. Rather than just having the survey in the back, it's already referring to something that is this controversial.
I thought the question was, do we want it at the beginning of the paragraph like this in a full
Right,
sentence? Do we want
right.
That is,
no
hold on.
after it?
That is what I am understanding. Is
That's
that
what I was trying to ask.
we're talking about putting abbreviated, Evelyn's abbreviated sentence at the beginning
Of
to
this policy.
inform,
Yeah.
In this
to inform
particular
planning and
case,
zoning.
it could be either or. It could be like this, or it could be at the end, per survey, da 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 da.
Oh, and then write down exactly per survey, 87% voted.
Right.
Right,
Okay,
Brian,
actually get the survey question. Okay.
Brian, if I could clarify what we did,
Yes.
I believe it was in Parks and then also in the more recent area plans, Belmont in particular, we did highlight survey results right in the text of the document in the sidebar. Per survey result X, and then gave the
Right.
percentage of area plans. So that it was
Okay.
peppered throughout the plan in the text. And then I believe what I'm hearing is that for this particular policy, there would be more specificity based on
Perfect, yeah.
what Evelyn is suggesting here for this particular. So both, it would be, and that's something that, we plan on doing, is highlighting the key points of the survey throughout the entire document.
Oh, great.
So that's within the entire document. Melissa, I'm going to ask you, would that be each different policy, if related to a survey question, would then have some statement saying, as supported by, 79% of the residents?
Brian, I
surveyed?
wouldn't suggest that for every policy. That would mean you
I
need to
agree.
go back and review each policy that you've already reviewed. But, for this particular one, what I'm understanding is that this would be in addition to this policy.
I agree with that. I want to make sure that we're not saying that we're going to do this for the entire document and survey.
No,
I
what I
think
meant is that the survey would be referenced in the text and then actually highlighted in a bubble next to the text. To
Okay,
call out particular survey
Okay.
highlights.
that makes sense. All right. Melissa, do you have the information you need in terms of editing the LU6?
Well, let's just clarify then. So if I am understanding the way LU6 will read, it will read as the highlighted sentence here begins, the October, actually how you were wording it, Brian, the 2020 area plan survey and public comments upholds the desires of the area plan residents that, and then go back to the policy here, the development of new multiple family condominiums, duplexes, apartments, townhouses, or mobile home parks should not be approved unless already zoned for multiple family development, period.
And then the no zoning changes to permit, and then no zoning changes to permit multifamily development.
That is, isn't that redundant?
Yeah, you've already accomplished that.
Okay,
Yeah,
Yeah, try not to make it too wordy. As
yeah,
someone else has already
if we
pointed
could,
out.
if, you know, next meeting, we could just kind of look at it and then say, okay, that is what we want. But basically, those are the words that we want to make this happen.
Can
I
we
think
add
what-
Russell's words in the planning area? Should not be approved in the planning area.
well, that's inherent because
Yeah,
this is the planning for the planning area.
yeah, again, try not to make it too wordy, and Brian has summed it up. It's already there, it's inherent.
I can read it one more time if you like.
Once more, please.
The 2020 area plan survey and public comments uphold the desires of the area plan residents that the development of new multiple family, e.g. condominiums, duplexes, apartments, townhouses, or mobile home park projects should not be approved unless already zoned for multiple family development, period.
My one question is, should projects go with family? New multiple family projects, e.g. condominiums, etc.
Sure, can just move the word up.
Because then you're not separating your adjectives from the subject.
I'm still kind of wondering, you know, the way Russell had it is projects should not be permitted in the area, in the planning area unless already zoned, which they aren't zoned. But he's just kind of, you know, making sure by saying no zoning changes will permit multiple housing or multiple family development. It's like, yeah, okay, it's not going to happen because it's not zoned, but you can't zone for it either. Or change the zoning.
Like a double safeguard.
Right.
Well, think about it, it'll work either way. I can't think of a circumstance wherein if you don't have the zoning there already, and it's grandfathered in, which we don't have, that you're going to go back and you've already said it should not be approved, any of this. So I think you got the bases covered there, no matter which way you state it. I can't think of an instance where no zoning changes should be made unless you had a very unusual circumstance such as de-annexation of property that is within the city limits.
I don't see that happening.
Yeah, neither do I.
Okay. So I'd like to hear from other committee members who may not have expressed their perception on our current edit of LU6. Hearing none, I'm comfortable with the edit that Melissa just read. Any other comments? Okay. Thank you, Melissa. Let's move back to, thank you, Dave. Let's move back to Russell's letter and see what came up next. LU 13, I think we've covered that. Let's see, NE 33. I'm not sure what NE refers to.
It's natural environment, and I will scroll down to that right now.
Oh, yes, of course. I was even on that subcommittee. Melissa, do you want to read NE 33 as it is currently written?
Sure. The county should actively seek participation in the land and natural resource planning and management processes of state and federal agencies administering public lands within the planning area. Should the county become aware of any potential public land exchange or sale, it should provide timely notification to the residents of the area.
And Russell's comment, please.
He's suggesting, should the county become aware of any potential public land exchange or sale, it should provide timely notification to all residents of the Donny Park Timberline Fernwood planning area.
So what Russell is doing is expanding it to include the entire Donny Park Timberline Fernwood region. The entire planning area. So if we were to add to all residents within the Donny Park Timberline Fernwood region area, that would cover it.
Ryan, I think you got it right there. Consider that how much Forest Service land there is around what is our planning area. And sometimes these things tend to be fairly large chunks of property. So that might be an appropriate statement to put in there.
Okay, thank you, John. Comments from other committee members? Are committee members in agreement with adding the entire residents of the entire, is that a way to say it? To the residents, to all residents of the planning area?
That sounds good.
Okay, I saw a thumbs up from Dave. Comments from other committee members?
Sounds good for me, Bernice.
Okay,
Liz, this sounds good. It's more inclusive.
Monica, any comment?
Yeah, it sounds good. I was trying to envision what that would look like and what, I mean, if they're gonna do a land swap and they notify all the residents, are they saying that the residents could actually say, no, you can't, we don't want you to do this, and that would actually pull weight? I mean, I'm trying to visualize what the outcome would be. I'm good with it, don't get me wrong.
I think
Monica,
you hit it on the head, Monica.
I think I can help you out a little bit with that. The land swaps are typically initiated between well, in our case, Forest Service and a property owner that approaches the Forest Service and says, look, I've got environmentally sensitive land that I'd be happy to trade off for developable land. They're supposed to solicit public comment on those land swaps. Although I know in the past, they've been very controversial because they haven't gotten that out to the public so that anybody knew what the heck was going on. That's why there aren't very many of them happening now. But politics change that.
Yeah, I see. And just since I'm supposed to be the historical perspective or the old guy on this committee, land swaps were something that we all lost sleep over when we wrote this document 20 some odd years ago, because we felt that, you know, that it could happen and it could really change our area extensively. So I am in favor of trying to provide as much communication as possible in the situation. Not as many of them happened as we thought would happen, but anyways, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I'll tell you that you should never consider anything like that, something that is in the past. We have had one fairly recently, but that involved property near Blue Ridge Reservoir and the Happy Jack area. But when they're
Yeah,
much
I
closer
have a
in,
place over there too.
yeah, you know, they've been a real problem, and yeah, I fully understand the losing sleep. And 20 years ago, yeah, they were still a very real thing in the pipeline.
So basically, with this edit, what we're saying is that the county should notify all the residents in the planning area, period. And the effect of that is that then the residents would have the opportunity to address planning and zoning, the board of supervisors, or whatever other agency may be appropriate.
And remember, this is primarily, it would be either a state land department or the Forest Service who would
Right.
be taking this action. You know, the county would be informed of that by them. And, you know, that would be through their public notice process, but the county would not have authority over whether or not they're going to approve that exchange, although the community could certainly have public input, just to make that clear.
Good clarification. What I was thinking is that by addressing the different agencies locally, that then the board of supervisors or whomever would speak for the community saying, hey, we're for this, or hey, no, we're not for this. So I think including, you know, the residents of the planning area accomplishes what we're trying to accomplish, what we're intending to do with it.
So if I could just read this to make sure that we are capturing the change, the last sentence would read, should the county become aware of any potential public land exchange or sale, it should provide timely notification to residents of the planning area. Is that correct?
Yes, that's my proposal. Instead of having to go through Donny Park, Timberline, Fernwood.
Sounds good to me.
Good to me. The more people that show up with pitchforks, the better off you are.
You remind me of a story I'll have to tell you later, Dave.
Okay.
Hey, Dave, don't forget the torches.
Well, yeah, that's it. That's if it's at night.
Isn't that how these things get pushed through under cover of darkness?
Well, let me share with you a very quick story. There's a small town in Utah in which the mayor said that everybody had to have a gun. Some of the residents said, no, we don't. It went to court and the judge agreed, you do not have the right to tell people that they have to have a gun. And he says, and the mayor then came back and said, okay, then everybody has to have a pitchfork. That's a true story.
Thank you.
Let's move on, please, Melissa.
So it looks like the next set of comments are related to transportation.
So let's hold those until we get to the transportation. Is that acceptable with the committee?
Good by me.
Okay. Thank you, Melissa. Do we have any other public comments? That would be community members, not committee members.
No, this was it, other
Okay.
than the ones that you've been reviewing.
And we've now covered Evelyn's comments. So I have a comment on water. Do you want to take that up next? Or do you want to
Okay.
move on to, let's move on to Evelyn's comments.
Bernice, you mean?
I'm sorry, I said Evelyn.
Bernice.
So just as we have done with others, with the public, Bernice has her comments written down. And so Bernice, I'm going to ask that you let us go through your comments. And then at the end, we'll come back and ask for your comments on what we're going through, because you have a number of comments and we'd like to get through this. It is also 6:30. Do folks need to take a short break before we move on?
That would be good, Brian.
I think that's good.
So let's take 10 minutes. We'll be back at 10 minutes till 7.
Thank you.
See you shortly. Let's see here. I want to go to here.
Hey, Rob, we're on a break right now. You probably already figured out.
Suspected as much, but otherwise thought everybody's just really getting along. But thank you.
Brian, it's
Yes.
6:52.
Yes. And I was just getting ready to call folks back. So do we still have our quorum?
Yes, and I believe Rob has joined.
Yep.
Okay. Rob, would you care to introduce yourself quickly so our community members know who you are? I guess he's not on yet.
He's muted.
Okay. Who's that? Rob?
I am here. I apologize for my tardiness. Life comes up.
It does. We understand.
Thank you.
Would you quickly introduce yourself for the community members?
Sure. My name is Rob Wilson. I live in the Timberline neighborhood and for the last 13 years or so, and I have the pleasure of co-chairing this committee along with Mr. Bates.
Thank you. So we've gotten through the comments from the public as well as Evelyn. And we've edited land use section 6. We're now going to go to Bernice's comments, which are lengthy. And so as I was sharing, Bernice, I have a couple of comments also. And what I'd like to do, and we were doing this previously, is that we are now commenting as a community member. And so in all cases, community members have submitted their written comments. We've then considered them as a committee. And so if you will, let us go through, work on the edits, and then at the end, we'll come back to you to hear a few thoughts from you. Are we in agreement? Bernice?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. So Melissa, you have the area map up. Would you share with us what your objectives are?
I do have the area plan map up, and this is zoomed in to show just a visual on the location of that state land section that Doug Meyer was referring to.
Okay.
And you can see here on the area plan map, it is color coded to show you that it is AR5 zoning, but it is this light yellow section right here where the hand symbol is, just to kind of bring it to everybody's attention. Since
So
we didn't
that's
have the
right
map
off of, that's right off of Coach Field. Is that accurate?
I don't believe the access is from Coach Field Road.
Oh, I thought it was near Foster Road.
I can zoom in a bit more.
Yeah, let's look and see.
It's in between.
Foster Road is one boundary.
So let me zoom in a little bit further, but yeah, we didn't have the advantage of the map up earlier, so I thought it might be beneficial.
It would be really helpful if there were more points of reference on this map so that we could see exactly where things are.
Oh,
Well, if I zoom in far enough, you'll be able to see the road. Oh, sorry, the road names.
Yeah, the more you zoom
We
in,
have
the
to
more
get
it gets
quite-
specific. Yeah,
There we go. Is that better?
yeah.
yes. It was Townsend Winona Road. I had it misplaced. Okay.
Okay, so just to kind of clarify that, and then we can go over now to Bernice's. I'm going to close this window just to.
But put it down. Could you go down? Oh, you're up. Could you go down just a little bit? I want to see Foster Road, if I could. If it's Townsend Winona, I just want. I'm trying to.
Here's the railroad right here.
Okay.
Okay,
south
those are the
Foster
tracks.
Road.
Oh,
right
that's
there.
south of right. Okay.
Okay,
south of
Townsend
Townsend, Winona.
Winona is up
Mhm.
here. Right?
Okay. So it's south. Okay.
Picture Canyon, and this is the border, city county border right here. So
Okay.
Picture Canyon's here. You can see the Rio de Flag is up here. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm going to close this tab just to maximize my screen unless anybody else wants to see something different. And remember, just for clarity, then I can go to the legend, but this hatching here indicates Forest Service land, managed land. Okay, so this green on top of the yellow indicates Forest Service land.
Melissa, I thought that was the green a little further lower to the right. Isn't that forest?
So this is all, let me go to the legend here. So Coconino National Forest has this hatching. The darker green is open space.
Okay. Thank you.
Is that a zoning?
Yes,
Zoning for open space?
correct. Okay, so this is your area plan map. It's been available on the story map, and it's, we've been using this throughout the project. You have a large area, so zooming in helps.
How big is that area? Is it a section?
It's an entire section, 640 acres.
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to close this tab. And then Brian, we're back to Bernice's, and I'm going to also close Evelyn's comments. We're through with that, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then we are on Bernice's comments here. Okay. And just to clarify then, I did highlight, instead of black, I put them in purple. So they would pop out a little bit better. And then remove the should to shall, and that was all that was modified. There's comments over here from me clarifying some additional points.
Let's go to LU2. Well, let's see. Is that where we're beginning?
Above that, there's an additional word in the residential goals where I added existing.
Right here, sorry, that's not, yeah, that didn't get colored in purple, but I can do that.
On existing. Do I have comments from the committee as to whether or not we include Bernice's existing in residential goals?
Well, I'll tell you what, there may be a little bit of difficulty with that in there because let's take the state trust land. When the state probably inevitably sells it off, it is for other land, then it is not existing private land. In a case like this, it may actually be a redundant statement.
Okay. Thank you, John. That's perceptive. Other committee members?
Yeah, I
Dave?
think, I don't think the existing really should be in there. I don't think
It
it's.
was in the 2001 area plan.
Okay. But the whole point is that the new development should remain on private land.
Yes.
Yeah, and this reads exactly the way that we have gone over it quite some time ago, and the committee agreed upon.
Brian, I would suggest that, we recognize there is a possibility that some state trust or other land could become private land. And if that were the case, then this existing would become an illegal requirement because private land comes with the rights that private land has. So I'm not sure what the benefit of that is. And I see potentially more conflict for it than benefit.
And what you're saying is that it becomes exclusionary and therefore infringes upon private property rights.
That's how I would read it, yeah.
Exactly, and that's why I brought that up, because when we would look at something like that at the Planning and Zoning Commission level or community development. Rob's point is well taken, I assure you.
Okay. Other committee members, comments?
Couldn't it limit the development of Forest Service and state land by saying that it has to be open space? Because it couldn't have new development on it?
Bernice, what happens with land that is not already zoned, like that one section? If it, in the event of a land swap, it comes into the system as open space, at which point, if a developer were to buy that property, you would have to come to the county and request rezoning it.
So by adding the existing, we would limit that Forest Service trade or state land sale to open space.
No, the two are not connected. If you have a land swap, the land that becomes privately owned after that, as a result of that land swap, automatically is zoned as open space. And for that zoning to change, you will have to submit a request for rezoning and go through the entire process of rezoning it. Then you have a chance to go to the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Board of Supervisors and put your 2 cents worth in.
So it sounds to me like the original intent of this statement was that, we don't want to see development on, Forest Service and other lands, which, would be unlikely anyway. But adding existing to it, I think is kind of taking away from what the original intent of this particular sentence was anyway.
Agreed.
I think it complicates it. Dave Browning?
Yeah, I think new development should remain on, why do we need private lands in there? Existing lands within the rural growth boundaries.
I'm good with private land. I don't think we should, open
Well,
the door
actually,
too wide, and not that it could.
Remain.
development on say BLM, Forest Service, or state land is not going to be regulated by the county.
That's true.
Good
When it
point.
becomes private land, then yes, then
Okay.
it is regulated by the county.
And therefore, on private lands is time inclusive and does not infringe upon their rights, whereas existing would.
Mhm.
Well, it states it very simply in one sentence in the 2001 area plan. On page 42, it says rural growth boundaries limit development to existing private lands within the planning area.
And Bernice, the suggestion I made earlier was that, while it may not be private land today, it could become, we all recognize that's a possibility. And there's no way that we can regulate the rights of a private property owner as a result of this particular document in such a case. Would you agree with that?
Well, I agree with the 2001 area plan. I think what our goal is to try to keep the development within the planning area and keep Forest Service and state land as open space. And this number 4 would do that. This number 4 in the 2001 area plan.
Look, I tell you what, let's see what
No,
the
actually, it wouldn't.
consensus on this is. Otherwise, we're going to be here till midnight.
Yeah, and that's exactly where I was going to go. So, Bernice, I am going to ask that you honor the agreement that we set up. I will simply go through and just call your name off, ask if you want to, if you want to keep it or not keep existing. Rob,
I would oppose.
oppose? Dave Browning,
Oops, sorry. Mute. Do away with existing. It complicates everything.
John Ruggles,
Delete existing.
delete existing. Is that what you said?
That is correct.
Okay. Monica,
Sorry, couldn't find the unmute button. I would leave it out.
okay. Evelyn,
I don't know. Just,
that's fine.
yeah, thanks.
Is Liz still with us?
Yeah, I don't understand the big deal about it, so I'm going to abstain too. Yeah.
Okay. And I would say take it out. So we will delete existing. Let's move on to LU2, please, Melissa.
Okay, so the suggested addition are the purple, is a purple text. Would you like me to read that?
Yes.
So the proposal is to modify LU2 to read residential zone changes, especially those that would result in increased density, are strongly discouraged and should not be approved unless based on the criteria in this section. The applicant should clearly demonstrate strict compliance with the provisions of this policy. And based on previous discussion, this shall should be a should.
Yes.
So I'll start with saying that if the shall was a should, I agree with the first recommended change there. I think the should clearly and strict are unnecessary in this case. That's just my thought.
I agree. This is Liz. I like strongly discouraged. It promotes what this committee and what the survey is saying, because the survey strongly discourages it. And should and strict,
Tell you what, strongly discouraged, if you're going to say should not be approved, why do you even need to say that?
oh, you mean just take out should not be approved, just are strongly
No, no.
discouraged?
What
No.
I'm suggesting
We
is.
just said it.
Oh,
Just say
okay.
Should
shall
not be approved. Why do you need
Oh,
to say strongly discouraged?
right. That's a good point
Additional
too,
work
right?
You don't really
Just should
need.
not be approved unless based,
Thank you.
Just plain should not be approved.
Yeah. Should not be approved.
Yeah, I like that.
I do too.
And that is what we agreed to when we reviewed this. I've got the draft goals and policies sitting right here in front of me, so I can read them as we go along.
Let me go to Dave Browning, please.
Yeah, I just have a question. Do we really need to do the reference back to the 2001 area plan?
Those would be deleted. Those in the final copy, Dave.
Okay,
Those are references that Bernice put in, so we would know where her comments were coming from.
okay, gotcha.
So I agree that removing are strongly discouraged and changing the should not be approved is what we want. I'm not clear on why unless based on the criteria is underlined.
I'm not sure, Brian, but if you like, I can go to the actual text, because John was correct. The way it currently reads, the draft, hang on one second. This is how it reads. Residential zone changes, especially those that would result in increased density, should not be approved unless based on the criteria described in this section. The applicant should demonstrate compliance with the provisions of this policy.
I'm good with the way it currently reads.
Yes, I am.
Yeah,
too.
that's good. And moving down a little bit, adding the word clearly, I think after being on the Planning and Zoning Commission, that's a good one to add because I've seen too many developers that would like to fudge on that.
So you're saying add should clearly demonstrate.
And strict, well, you know, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Either way. Leave it there, take it out. Not going to make any difference, although it emphasizes what I think Bernice is trying to say there.
I get the point. My question is it necessary from the planning and zoning perspective, or would
Yeah.
the planning and zoning folks say, well, you have not demonstrated compliance in section 4-3 dot whatever?
Brian, the answer is no. And strict compliance really isn't going to make any difference when you evaluate it that way at the P&Z level and in the recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. So it doesn't really add anything from that standpoint.
Okay, I can go either way with strict. I
Compliance,
understand the purpose of putting it in there.
yeah, but compliance is, it's a yes or no. Either
That's
you
correct.
comply or you don't. And so, you can't strict compliance.
How
How's
are we
that?
going to define what meets the criteria of strict compliance
Yeah.
versus just compliance?
Hey,
Good question.
it's the letter of the law versus the intent in this case. Oh, I'll go along.
But I
with
do
whatever.
think that but what John first said clearly, because he said sometimes they kind of fudge on it, clearly demonstrates. But I don't know. I mean, do we want to emphasize?
The other point of view is that this is an advisory document. It is a guide. So
Right.
strict compliance, you may look at that and say, gee, I think everybody's hands are being tied here with that statement. So just a thought.
I'm good with compliance. I think that tells the planning and zoning or other agencies what it is that we're trying to accomplish.
Well, I'm certainly okay with that, Brian. Thank you.
Okay. Monica, Evelyn, any comments?
No, I'm with you guys. I'm good so far.
Thank you. Evelyn?
Am I mute? I agree with you guys.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that we will, golly, I've lost track of it.
It sounds like, Brian, you're going with the current wording on the screen.
Yes. Should demonstrate compliance with the provisions of the policy. There wasn't wasn't there? Let me see, I've got it. her
Right here,
notes
I just put it up here, Brian.
Didn't we say should not be approved? That's there. Yeah.
It's in there.
Okay. So LU2 remains as is. And let's move to Bernice's next comment, please.
It's LU2A. Zone changes may only be considered if significant and clear benefits to the planning area residents have been identified and are supported by a majority of the specific planning area residents and property owners. So the addition there is the first only, and then majority of specific and property owners. Let me go back to that.
Brian, as I recall, we discussed this in a fair amount of detail before and basically
Exactly.
arrived at the conclusion there was no good way to determine what a majority was or that kind of a thing. And that's why we have a planning and zoning commission and a board of supervisors.
Yep.
To judge that.
And
Rob,
Rob, you just said exactly what I was going to
yep,
say.
and that's what I was going to say too. You're exactly right about that. And I was ready to quote you the statute on zoning that the county goes by if necessary.
Okay.
Yeah, this would completely redefine how the process is done, and that's not our place.
That's correct.
That is absolutely correct. And we are not rewriting state statute.
I have another one there. When we say zoning changes may only be considered, that kind of almost sounds like that you're saying absolutely not. It's kind of like a should versus shall.
It is. And in our current writing, Dave, it says zone changes may be considered.
All right. Okay, gotcha.
You're both made good points, and I think maybe considered the way it is currently written is the way to go with that, because the other aspect of it is with a suggested change, you're essentially saying what the zoning code allows you to apply for, you can't even do that. If you've got property, you can apply for a zoning change. What we're doing is saying, okay, should that happen, how do we look at it at the P&Z and board level?
Yes, and we cannot deny someone from filing for a zone change.
Absolutely correct.
So for us to limit that would actually be limiting their options on private property owners' options on what they may do with their land, which I believe is illegal.
Yes, it certainly is. And we did discuss it. And those were that was one of the points that was brought up in the discussion. Yep. We did this.
Okay, let's move on, please.
So are you moving past LU2A?
Yes.
Okay. The next edit would be LU2A number 4, where it says provision of public recreational parks and recreational facilities. Oh, excuse me. I'm trying to move up there. And the clarification was that public facilities were not in the 2001 area plan. So this was updated with the word public recreational facilities, and I can flip over. So currently LU2A4 reads provision of recreational parks and public facilities as one of the benefits that a zone change would need to prove. And the proposal is to take out the word public.
Melissa, can you help me understand, using the word public there, the scope of what that could encompass? What would a public development be?
Well, public would be open to the public versus a private facility. And actually, maybe it looks like the word, and you may want to ask Bernice to clarify here. It looks like she moved the word public in front of public recreational parks and recreational facilities. Maybe, no, actually, no, that's not true. It's the board public is already in front of recreational. So a public facility would be like your Peaks View Park. That's a
Actually,
public park.
Melissa, I think you were on the wrong, you're on item 3 of the current document, and we should be on item 4.
No, I'm looking at 4. Right, you're correct. Okay, so provision of recreational parks and public facilities.
Facilities could mean more than parks. Couldn't it be something other, any other type of public facility? I'm trying to keep it recreational like we had in the 2001 area plan. Could a jail be a public facility? Could
A library could be a public facility. A school could be a public facility.
Right, so we could put a juvenile hall over there or a jail, or I'm just trying to keep it recreational. As it was in the 2001 area plan.
Would a school or a library be beneficial?
It depends.
Well, Melissa, is a jail a public facility? Could a jail be there? She was just saying that facetiously, but can a jail or juvenile facility be put in there?
Or administrative offices?
Public facilities do refer to a wide range of, public services like that. So I think that, and I don't know the specifics about citing of jails, but, in our county zoning ordinance, they are, and I don't have it open in front of me. I don't recall, John might recall exactly where those are actually permitted or if they're even permitted. This could be a point of clarity, but public facilities, can provide public services for a myriad of purposes.
That's broad.
Melissa, really quick, I do not think that a jail or a detention facility is actually covered in the zoning ordinance.
I don't think it is either, John. If I recall, I don't think it's even a permitted land use.
And
So
I think we need to go back and consider that this is under. It may be considered if significant and clear benefits to the planning area residents. So when we start talking about all these things that might possibly pop in here, this is a sub underneath that.
Right. Thanks, Monica.
I agree with Monica, and a jail would not meet that criteria already identified in A. Whereas something, the sheriff's department had talked about perhaps someday having a substation, which I think a lot of people supported the idea of out here, and that would fall into this category.
I thought they put that in the Coach Field Fire Station.
Well, I'm not sure, but if they
Okay.
wanted to build something separate or
Oh,
somewhere.
yeah, got it.
I have to agree with Monica on this one. She's absolutely right about this.
Yeah.
And in looking at the criteria, if something like that came to the P&Z Commission, that's the way we would be looking at it. Exactly.
And it does say, and are supported by planning area residents. Benefits may
Yeah.
include.
So, I think that there are public services beyond recreational facilities. And therefore, I think the way it's written is the way I prefer to keep it.
I'll sign up for that, Brian. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Rob, yes?
Yes.
It's, anybody else? Any other comment? Let's
Did
move on,
we-
please.
Excuse me, did we add that are supported by the majority of the planning area residents?
Well, you have no way of gauging that, and this was a conversation we've had previously, which is why that was not included.
Well, I think you can gauge it by the comments at the public hearings and the community meetings and the input to the Board of Supervisors.
That's,
you can.
I understand your comment, and that is the avenue by which citizens from this community can then express their desires. So that you pointed out the avenue that people would need to follow.
Well, what about the Chevron station that was out there that they didn't
I-
listen to
That is something that's beyond our control, and it happened a long time ago. I'm not going to follow that.
But this would protect that from happening again. This would protect the communities from having that happen, putting more chevrons and dollar stores in places where people don't want them.
Well,
I have to disagree. I'm going to state this again, that the real protection that you may have in that respect is what is in the zoning ordinance. This document is only a guideline that P&Z staff and the board follow.
It's a pretty important guideline though, wouldn't you say?
so we've already decided that we're not including the majority of residents because we have no way to measure that.
And not only that, we don't get to vote on it.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, that makes sense. Majority vote, yeah.
So,
The way you vote on it is when you vote for someone who is running for the Board of Supervisors.
okay, let's move on to Bernice's next comment, please.
This is to LU2B.
Correct.
Increases to existing zoning shall be managed on a case-by-case basis and should be rare exceptions. They should only be approved if clearly demonstrated that no other means are feasible to achieve the desired benefits described above. Such zone changes should meet the following criteria. And
How is it that it currently reads in our document, please?
All zoning
Increase-
changes would be managed on a case-by-case basis. I mean, that's what a zoning
Correct.
change is, right?
they are managed every case by case.
I have to say, Rob is absolutely right about that. That's the way it works.
Okay, so. And Melissa, you had a comment on that. I think the comment was,
Well, I was just reiterating what John and Rob said,
Yes.
that they are managed on a case by case basis.
right,
Okay.
So we can strike that first recommended change.
And then the second recommended change was to strike and it would read, they should only be approved if clearly demonstrated that no other means are feasible to achieve the desired benefits described above. Such zone changes should meet the following criteria, and I'll go to the,
so read the current policy, please.
oops, sorry. Increases to the existing zoning density are rare exceptions and should only be approved if no other means are feasible to achieve the desired benefits described above. Such zone changes should meet the following criteria.
I think that the way it is currently stated is defining what it is that needs to be done.
Is,
Couldn't agree with you more.
should that shall be should or shall?
Well, that is Bernice's
Addition.
addition. The current committee edit, well, Melissa just brought it up. I believe that accurately describes what we're trying to do. Okay, any other comments from the committee members?
Melissa, could you go back to the comment version, please? Thanks. They should only, I'm okay with that. I would suspect they would only be approved. That might clarify that sentence a little bit. So.
Well, it's already in our document and should only be approved. So
Yeah,
should only is already there.
It looks like the edit is to split that into 2 sentences.
Oh,
So it would read increases to the existing zoning density are rare exceptions, period. And it would begin, they should only be approved.
I'm good with that. With
Yeah,
the
I
change.
think,
yeah.
I think the way it is that sentence has continuity that way.
Which way, John?
The way it is currently written in our draft.
Right, with the and.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can tell I'm not an English major.
I have to agree with your edit there because it is a continuous thought process in that single sentence. So should only is already there. No, okay. Okay. Let's scroll on down, please.
So now this is added to LU2B one,
B1.
lowercase 1, Roman numeral 1. Currently, it reads minimum lot size of 1 acre or greater should be maintained. And the proposed change is minimum net lot size of 2.5 acres or greater should be maintained.
Well, we have 1 acre parcels already. So how can we say that they should be 2.5?
Okay, and not only that, the 1 acre is what is stated in the comprehensive plan.
Okay. I mean, if that were a viable thing to do, then I would agree with 2.5 acres, but it's not viable.
All you have to do is pull up the zoning map and see how many smaller lots we have. Take a look at Timberline. Take a look at other areas of the original Donny Park area. There are some lots over there that are 7/10 of an acre.
I put that in there so that areas that have AR 2.5 and AR 5 wouldn't be busted down to 1 acre, and it would maintain the integrity of the survey results. Not increase density.
I think the requirements for not rezoning lower than the adjacent zoning already protect from that, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Melissa, can you?
And that's number 3 here. Lots that are adjacent to residentially zoned land should be of equal or greater size than the largest abutting or adjacent surrounding parcels.
Additionally, there are requirements in the zoning code for that.
Okay.
And Bernice had an edit to that they, in number 3, the should change to shall. That's why it did not show up on this.
I want to make a comment on section B of the current document for the committee. In that there are, I think, 5 subsets there. You have to meet each one of those criteria. This is not meet one or another, it's meet all of them. And so as we look at any changes in this, keep in mind, it's the entire suite that we're actually dealing with. Okay. Did we resolve the total density in number 2?
I'm not in favor of including 2.5 acres.
I agree with you.
But I agree with Rob also.
And I agree too.
I'm
Okay.
in.
All right. Let's move to number 2. So if we go to net density, that actually decreases. Let me restate this. I'm not sure I got it correctly, but I think net density would decrease the amount of
It actually increases
the
density,
dense.
Right.
It increases the density.
right? And this is one of those planner ease types of calculations because net excludes roads and other improvements versus where gross includes all of those. For example, a 10-acre site with 1 unit per acre is 10 lots. If road and other improvements total 1 acre, the net density would equal 9 lots. So if you say net density increase should not exceed 20%, then you're actually increasing density.
So I would say we stay with total because I think that that's the objective. That's what we've heard from the public.
You could say total, you could say gross density. Whatever is clearer, but the net density then is actually less. So if you say net density, then you're increasing it.
Yeah, and one other point to consider on that, there is a workaround that has been used in the past, and that is, let's take the 10 acres, 1 acre lots. What has been done is to provide an easement across those lots for roads in an attempt to get around that. Stating it this way as total density is a pretty clear message when it comes to staff and the P&Z Commission that that's not the way we want to keep doing it.
And can you show us the current committee document? How does that read? Total density should not exceed 20%. I believe that that's
Yep.
what we want, and I believe that's in compliance with what we've heard from our community.
You bet.
Okay. Let's move on, please. Her next comment was number 4. The proposed change is strongly supported by a clear majority of the specific planning area residents. Again, there's no measure for that. Somebody could come in and get 15 people to go to a planning and zoning committee, and those 15 people speak for one idea, and then there's 1 or 2 people that speak for a different way to handle a matter. That doesn't mean that the 15 who speak are a majority.
And Brian is absolutely right about that. I have seen this happen numerous times over the last 10 or so years.
Okay.
The bottom line here is to leave it as it is currently
Yep, yep.
in the draft ordinance.
Okay. Let's move on, please.
Okay, so this is to hang on 1 second. Go back to the original.
3B.
Yeah, let me-
4.1.
Be
Sure.
right. So from Roman numeral to common numeral 1, access and open space. So that, let me just go back here. We need to read it from the original. So it is B5 is approval of residential zone changes is through the planned residential development zoning process for developments on 10 acres or larger. In addition to the requirements specified in section 2.11G of the zoning ordinance and requirements of this policy, the following standards should also apply. And then the first standard is access. And the proposed change is access to PRD developments with gross densities higher than 1 unit per 2.5 acres should be directly from publicly maintained arterials. And that's the recommended change, changing roads to arterials such as Highway 89, Towns of Winona, or collectors such as Silver Saddle, Cokefield, north of Towns of Winona, Cosnino, Campbell, and Copeland. So the suggestion here is that access be directly from arterials.
And what was your comment? I can't read your comment. I remember something about roads.
Let me move over. So the committee has simplified this originally to roads because publicly maintained roads may also include local roads. All PRD developments require a traffic impact analysis to determine impacts and needed improvements. So the original change by the committee was to simplify that from arterials to just roads.
Yeah, the other thing I would add is that I would, if I was looking at that, not just as a guy on the P&Z commission, but as a developer, I would look at that as a rather arbitrary and capricious way of preventing me from developing my property.
The current draft does say directly from publicly maintained roads. Those are hard to achieve.
And that's I think the way it should remain.
I agree, because otherwise it's too limiting. It's still got to go through planned residential development.
I think the bottom line, Brian, the bottom line is the traffic impact study is going to answer the questions. Is it or is it not appropriate based on the road that it's on?
Exactly.
So the fact that there is a process in place already that examines that specific issue means we really don't need to add anything to this particular section.
I agree with you, Rob.
I agree too, right, because of that comment.
Yep.
Oh, Melissa, what does SM mean? SM4, SM5, what does SM mean?
You know, it changes. That was Melissa Shaw, comment number 4. It just, I don't know why
Okay.
Word numbers it that way.
Okay, I thought it was a document. Okay, it's you just documenting that you did it. Okay.
Yeah, Shaw, Melissa.
Okay. Let's go to Bernice's. So we're going to maintain, we're going to keep roads. We're going to keep it as it is currently written. That's what I'm
That's
hearing.
what I support. Yep.
Let's go on to the next comment. It was on open space.
On open space, and again, this is one of the standards that a zone change would apply to. And going back to this, it would read, open space. PRD developments located in treed areas should have a minimum of 35% open space. In treeless areas, greater open space percentages should be required. All lots should have access either direct or via easement to open space area. Areas within the development designated as open space should remain as such. And this last part is, in addition, any open space set aside shall be preserved as originally approved unless rezoning to other use is approved. Common areas such as equestrian or sports facilities or playgrounds shall be computed in open space requirements. And the committee had changed this when your original edits, and the addition of equestrian or sports facilities or playground is actually does contradict the current zoning ordinance open space definition, which is more restrictive. Our current zoning ordinance open space definition does not allow equestrian or sports facilities. It's a passive natural area.
So I would suggest that encouraged versus required is a should shall, and encouraged should remain.
I agree.
I agree.
Yep, I agree with that.
Okay, so we will maintain encouraged. Then we go on to areas with the development designated as open space should remain as such. The addition then, any open space shall be set aside, shall be preserved as originally approved unless rezoning to other use is approved.
So could space that was set aside as open space be legally used for anything else without a rezone?
No, and the current text reads. Sorry, we've got to go down to the next page.
Yeah.
All areas within the development designated as open space should remain as such. And it would require both a rezoning to the PRD and a most likely a change to the subdivision.
Bernice, this is Liz. Were you doing that just to protect that it wouldn't go into residential, that they wouldn't split it or something? Because open space is so, if you've ever read it, open space and greenway, it's really tight. I
Right.
mean, it's very defined definition. Like they-
Right, I did it
yeah.
because somewhere that we had before allowed somebody with a PRD to use the open space later on to develop. There was something that we had before in the last 2 years about developing that open space.
Wow.
And
So
maybe
they
we've
must have
changed it
rezoned it.
since I wrote, because I submitted this in August, but I had been working on it for months.
Well, I've got to tell you that if there's been any kind of effort to rezone anything like this in the last 2 or 3 years, I haven't seen it. It has not
I
come
would
to the
just
Planning
like
and
to
Zoning
keep open
Commission, and
space.
you may be thinking about what was done with the Johnson Ranch development.
Possibly. I would just like to keep the open space zoned as open space.
And that's what it says, is that the open
Existing-
space shall remain
Yeah.
as such.
Yeah, that's already there.
Okay, but it might have gotten changed after I wrote this. We might
That's
have-
possible.
Yeah, I think we did.
You mean the policy got changed afterwards?
Possibly, yes.
So here's the last
So we're
part.
good with it
of-
as written then.
So I'll go
Yeah,
back
areas
to
within
as it's
development.
current, this is how it's currently written, and I'm sorry, there's a split page here. And it reads, PRD developments located in treed areas should have a minimum of 35% open space. In treeless areas, greater open space percentages should be encouraged. All lots should have access either direct or via easement to open space areas. Areas within the development designated as open space should remain as such, period. That's
Oh,
the
there-
current draft.
I think that says it rather well.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Let's move on, please.
Okay.
We're going down to letter C.
LU
Is
3.
this LU 3?
It's still LU 3. Let me just go over to the
Do you want to stop there, Melissa? It's 10 minutes to 8.
Oh, okay.
Oh, my
So
gosh.
LU3 it's a different policy, right? It's a new policy.
Well, I was hoping to get through your comments this evening, Bernice.
I was too. I appreciate that.
Um,
About halfway.
yes, well,
Well, we're on
Not-
page 2.
she has a lot of additional ones that are labeled LUX. So.
And, you know,
it-
this is Liz, and, you know, reading the other ones, a lot of them that she wants to make comments, Melissa has made a comment that they're already in natural environment.
yeah,
And so it may not take as long because she quotes it being, yes, we are saying this, we did say this, but it's and she just maybe, I don't know, Bernice, we were talking about today, maybe she just forgot or we didn't know that it was a natural environment. But it is, because I looked them up.
That, and I wanted to emphasize it so that
Ah, okay,
under, emphasis.
right. But Melissa did a good job looking them all up.
well, I think that, you know, and let me just ask the committee if you want to continue working or if you want to stop as close to 8 o'clock, because it is now 7 minutes until 8.
I think for the public comments, we should stop.
I think we
Okay.
should stop too.
I do
Hey,
too.
something I can agree with Bernice on. How's that?
We'll put it in the book.
We'll put it,
Do I get a gold star for that?
No, Bernice does.
yes, Bernice.
Okay, so let's go ahead and conclude our working on Bernice's comments, and let's see. Melissa, we're now at review the, oh, okay,
Well, this is showing what we're reviewing still.
right.
Oops, pardon me.
Okay, so we will try to finish land use next meeting and hopefully get to public safety and then move on to transportation.
And the vision statement comments.
Oh, yes, yes.
We gotta do vision.
And this is just again a summary of the comments that were collected. And that we are documenting all of your changes or your decisions whether to change or not. This is actually where we are now. We're reviewing committee comments. And then this is the schedule, Brian.
Okay, so let's see. Yes, we're talking about a public hearing, I think, in March.
Well, we wanted to talk about an open house in March.
That's it, an open house, yes.
I don't think that's reasonable. I think it's too soon.
I agree that it's too soon.
Well, here's a proposed schedule. Let me just flip to the next slide. I did talk to Cromer Elementary to see what was available, thinking that optimistically we could get through the review and have an open house with the draft available March 31st. That's the very end of March. And we could then, because of the way the public hearing schedule has to fall, there could be an opportunity to have a study session with the commission in May 25th. If it was on track, then potentially a public hearing with the planning commission at the end of June on the 29th. And then again, the way the calendar falls, potentially Board of Supervisors hearing in August. They have public hearings on Tuesdays. So this just gives you a sense for how it times out in terms of the schedule with study session and then public hearings and the time between each.
I think the only way we could follow that schedule is if we start doubling up on meetings again, because we just kind of move slow.
I think with the surge in COVID too, that the open house might be problematic for people. And many of the older people that were at the last public meeting, I know a lot of them that aren't computer literate that would have difficulty doing it online. I feel like we've gone a lot slower than we thought we would have. I thought we'd be through all these comments tonight, and we're moving, you know, we need more time.
Well, Bernice, it appears there were a couple of comments we talked about tonight that you acknowledged were probably overcome by events in the editing process here. One thing that perhaps we could ask of you is to let us know if there are any more of those on your existing list, so that we can focus on those that actually need debate. And as someone mentioned earlier, you know, if we did double up in February and March, I think there's reasonable opportunity there to be able to have an open house the end of March. I think the COVID surge, there's no way to predict whether that's going to be up or down or anywhere else anymore. So using that as a criteria, I think would be kind of challenging and probably not beneficial to our process.
I would like to have all my comments considered the way they are written right now. You know, we can speed up talking about them, but I'd like them all to be read, especially before the public.
I think Rob
Well-
is asking you to do a little more homework here.
I'm not, hey, I worked on this thing for months, John.
Yeah, well, I
I'm
know
not
what that's like.
a fan of doubling up meetings either, because we've got tax season coming and a lot of people have a lot of things to do.
So Bernice, I think when we go through the comments, the next time I'd like to focus more on what Melissa has said in her annotations. And if it's something where it's covered in a different chapter or it's covered by planning and zoning regulations, then we go with that. We got bogged down. I was trying to keep it moving, but we got bogged down more than I wanted to this evening.
I think it's really important that if it's covered in planning and zoning regulations, that we acknowledge that those planning and zoning regulations, the zoning code could change. And a lot of this was in the 2001 area plan. And I think it's real important to put it back in our plan so that we can, you know, go along with the survey results.
So Bernice, this is Liz. Are you saying then the comments that you made that are actually from the Donny Park plan and they're in natural environment, move them back to land use and don't put them in natural environment like Melissa's found, like some of the comments that you took from the original 20, the 2001, to bring them back and don't put them there? Because if you read,
That's fine. That's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
saying taking them out completely.
okay.
Hey,
All right.
I just want to make one comment here and bring people up to date on the real world, because changes in the zoning ordinance, okay, what went on the books in 1981 did not really get changed and updated until 2019. So worrying about the zoning ordinance changed faster than the area plan is just ignoring the realities of government. That's all I can say.
That's a 30-year period before the zoning plans were updated.
But the other point would be that if the zoning code changes, our area plan is overridden. So
exactly,
the zoning code
That's
takes
true.
priority.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're
No,
right.
the area
Good
plan
point.
guides the zoning code.
No.
The area plan guides the zoning code.
Well,
Not
I
remember,
don't think that's true.
Well,
Not-
remember when
Doesn't it
it,
guide the comprehensive plan?
yeah, let me just make some clarification here. Whenever there's a zoning ordinance change, we review the comprehensive plan, goals and policies, and write extensively about how that change complies with those. So, you know, Bernice is right. These documents are the guiding documents for those changes. But that said, you know, a lot of the policies that were written for the Donny Park area plan in 2001 suggested changes to the zoning ordinance that have taken place. So, but that's backtracking a bit to some of Bernice's comments, because there were numerous policies in the 2001 plan that have already been adopted in the zoning ordinance. We could talk about those next time.
Yeah, and also,
And the new
Yep.
zoning ordinance could have things in it. That's why we need to put them in the plan again, to make sure that the new zoning code incorporates them again. Because the new zoning code could change them if they're not in the area plan.
no, I have to disagree with you on that. Having participated in the Citizens Advisory Committee on the update to the zoning code, it's just not going to work that way.
So for our next meeting, one way that we could perhaps expedite getting through these comments is if everyone had reviewed Melissa's comments to Bernice's comments, and we're familiar enough with them to say that not a lot of discussion is required because we've already reviewed Melissa's comments and are satisfied that their issue is already covered somewhere else in either the area plan or other documents.
Yep, I agree with you, Rob. There are some people that have already done that prior to.
Yep.
Well, I hope, yeah.
Yep, I did.
So that's a good comment, and I do want folks to know several of us have done
Right.
that. My question is, do folks want to double up on meetings in January and February? I'm not saying we should, and I will share with you that I will be gone for a good bit of this time.
Yep,
I do.
let's
I
do
do.
it if we can.
Yeah,
Uh,
I have no problem with it.
Okay. Does, I will not be here on the 27th, but does January 27th, that would be 2 weeks from today, is that a good date for another meeting?
Yeah, I'll go along with that, even though it's the day after what may be a lengthy planning and zoning hearing, the 26th.
You can bring all the good news back to us then, John. Okay.
If I can stay awake.
Rob, you were giving a thumbs up.
Absolutely.
Dave Browning said yes.
Yeah. Even though it is on the
Monica?
day, even though it is on the day that I have vet court all morning. So,
I'm
Hey.
good.
It's a yes for
Okay.
me.
Liz?
I'm good. I'm supposed to have a procedure either the 26th or the 27th. I don't know. I'm gonna say I'm good if I'm not under the knife.
Okay. I hope you do well.
Thank you.
Evelyn?
I've got a check mark that means yes.
Okay. Oh, yes, you did do that. And I will not be here, but hopefully we can have a quorum.
Okay,
time would
I can
that
be.
be?
there.
How do you do that check?
Will you do it at 6?
It's under reactions, Liz.
Okay.
What time would that be?
Thank you.
27th.
You all want to do it? Well, it's your choice. You want to do it at 5 or at 6?
I think 6 works well for these second meetings of the month kind of things. So
Okay. 6 o'clock, January 27th.
Okay.
And then let's see where we are. And Rob, you would be co-chair, you'd be the chair for the next 2 meetings because I will be gone on different tours that I'm leading.
no problem. Happy to, I think that might catch me up.
Okay. Let's leave a potential second meeting in February. Let's leave that undecided and we'll see where we are. Okay.
Do
Melissa,
you
can we
want to
move-
leave the potential open house undecided or talk about that next time?
let's
I don't-
talk about it next time when you see how far along you get.
Okay,
And Melissa has already reserved Cromer School for March 31st.
I went ahead and reserved it just to have it on the calendar.
Yeah, because it's easy to take off.
Mhm. Well, it's not necessarily easy to get it on their calendar.
Right, it was smart to do that.
Yes, it is.
Well, what
Just a
about
goal.
all the public notification? That's gonna be, I mean, we want to make sure everybody's notified.
Well, we would talk about how to do that, Bernice. So that's part of the planning for it.
Worst case is we're going to know by the end of February if we're going to have an open house at the end of March. That's
Right.
30 days notice, and that should be sufficient.
Great, that sounds,
March is a long month. Okay, next slide is just a reiteration of your next meeting, but it will now be Thursday, January 27th from 6 to 8 p.m. 2022. And then you've got public comments, final thoughts, Brian.
Okay. Thank you. So let's go to the public, to the community members. If you are a community member, please unmute yourself and share with us your thoughts. Sheila.
Hello, everybody. I really appreciate your hard work. I'm Sheila Walsh, longtime resident of Stony Park. And I was late tonight. I had to work past 5 and then I had to feed. So I was just curious about this discussion on that section of state land, that 640 acres that is west of the Mountain View area, that actually on that zoning legend, it's colored yellow and that's zoned AR 2.5. And I'm wondering if John says that Forest Service trades are traded in their open space and the private party has to apply for zoning, would that not be the same for state trust land? I mean, how does state land get zoned AR 2.5 is my curiosity. And you may not be able to answer that.
I thought it was AR5.
It is AR5.
Okay, that color is yellow and that was AR 2.5.
There are different
So-
shades of yellow, just to kind of point that out. Yeah, the different shades, yellow indicates residential, but different shades indicate different density.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Sheila, if I may respond, what happens is that there is a predetermination that it would be a certain zoning classification. And so I think that the community development comes up with those recommendations and then the Board of Supervisors approves them. So in the event that that land were to be sold by the state, it would automatically become AR5, meaning you must have 5 acres.
Yeah, and real quick, other property that there would be state land, just like Forest Service property and a land swap, it would be open space. And then anyone who buys that property or a portion of it would have to apply for rezoning. We had a case like that not too long ago.
Okay,
That was all I had. Thank you so much.
thank you, Sheila. Any other members of the community? Hearing none, let me go to committee members.
I think Doug had something there.
Excuse me, go ahead, Doug.
Oh, yeah, yes, so I'm sorry. Did you guys say when you were gonna try and work on this issue? I just didn't understand when you were going to try and make a change to a goal. When you
On
were doing
what issue?
on the state trust, on the Section 2 state trust land.
I thought that there was a change to that goal to add and state trust.
Okay, I didn't understand that you actually did that tonight.
That was my note. Does any committee member have another?
No, your notes
My
are correct.
understanding,
That's exactly what we did.
yes,
Don't we
I
need to
agree.
don't we need to make a policy though, because the goal wouldn't drive the policies
Would drive the goal.
Yeah. The policies are what are important to enforce it. We don't enforce goals, we enforce policies.
Well, the goal is the overarching goal that lays out the policies under it. So they're all taken under consideration. And if that goal is specifically amended with adding and state trust, that would be very clear about the intent of the overarching goal to preserve undeveloped forest service and state lands.
Okay.
I'm sorry, this is Liz. I thought we were under the impression we were going to discuss it again. So I was kind of like Bernice. I didn't know we resolved it by just putting that into the goal. So
I thought we had agreed to that.
I think take a look at it again, just to be sure.
Yeah.
Brian is absolutely correct. We did cover that adequately and agree to it.
And we voted and everything? I don't even remember that.
We didn't vote, we agreed.
No, I don't think we did the wording. We discussed the wording.
No.
Doug had kind of suggested, because I know he suggested that we need to influence the supervisors in LU5, and we didn't even really cover it except to say that we need to add public lands and state trust, and then add state trust to the policy itself. So I personally think that we should go back to LU5 next time and put in the suggestions that he kind of suggested to us, so that we could kind of influence the board of supervisors. Because he even said have the supervisors look at section 1-2 so that they can use it, and so that they could just approve of it, all this. So I don't think we really covered it.
I don't think we did either.
Hold on a
Ryan,
minute.
could I make a suggestion?
Yes.
I don't think.
go-
And if Doug
Go
is
ahead, Melissa.
willing to send some text so that the committee can actually look at what his suggestion is.
That sounds really good.
Yep.
Yeah.
The other
As you're
thing
going to read
is,
these other public comments. And I might also recommend that, Doug, if you do that, bring up the point about previous attempts to have that preserved as open space. Just maybe wrap that into a policy.
And also for the people that know about the elk herd that is in the Turkey Hills elk herd, just get it to where this board of supervisors really understands where we're coming from.
But then maybe that's our job to polish it. He just writes down his views. I mean, it's our job to polish it and put that stuff in if we want to as a committee.
yes.
I feel like we're making him do too much. He just had a suggestion. Now we're making him write it. If we want to write it, we should write it.
But he already knows what he wants to say.
So hold on, we're getting a little out of control here. Let's bring this up. We still have to go through Bernice's comments next time, and LU5 is one of the ones. So that would be the appropriate time to bring this back up.
Excellent.
Woohoo!
And just so, should I send an email? What do you want me to do?
Melissa, what's the best route?
Email's fine.
Okay,
Thank you, Doug.
okay, okay.
Okay, other committee members, final thoughts. Hearing none, I will share with you that, yes, we're moving slow, but we are moving. And so I want to thank all the committee members, and let's hang in there because we are going to get this done. And I think we're going to have a very, very good document. It's taken some work, but it'll happen.
Oh, Brian, this is Liz again. Do you want to add next time on the agenda about your comments? Didn't you have some comments that you didn't get to tonight?
Yes, it's on water.
Right.
And I
So
have
let's
sent
make sure we
those-
do that.
I have sent those to Melissa, and even if I'm not here, you
Okay.
all can read them and say,
Okay.
well, this guy, whatever.
Okay. Yeah, because I have that written down when we started. Okay, good. Thank you.
Hey, we'll take them with a grain of salt.
No, you're gonna need more than that. Okay, any other committee member want to share quickly?
Nope.
Well, thank you, folks. Have a wonderful evening and
Bye, John
take care
Boy.
of yourself.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Okay, thank you, everyone.